Hello and welcome. You are listening to the Gay with God podcast, a safe place for us to share our stories and support one another. How long did we know? What challenges did we face? Did we lose our faith? When did we find our way back home? Or are we still searching? The stories you hear on this podcast will melt your heart and strengthen your belief that in God, all things are possible, and you can be authentically gay with the God of your understanding. I am your host, Midge Noble, and I am very honored that you are here. Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the Gay with God podcast. I am your host, Midge Noble, and as a quick announcement, I want to remind you that I am just thrilled to share that I will be recording the Gay with God podcast live again from the Wild Goose Festival this July 11 through 14. The Wild Goose Festival, if you haven't heard about it, it is a transformational community grounded in faith-inspired social justice. It's a one-of-a-kind gathering that brings together activists, artists, and seekers from all walks of life to explore justice, art, spirituality, and community. It's being held at Fanhoy Farms in Union Grove, North Carolina, and I'd love for you to join me there. From engaging workshops to inspiring panels and interactive experiences, Wild Goose has something for everyone. They even have a nighttime dance that they do where you put headphones on and half of you have one song in your head and the other ones have a different song and they're dancing. And oh my God, it is the funniest thing ever. So mark your calendars and let's be part of this incredible community that is committed to making a positive impact in the world. For more information, you can go to wildgoosefestival.org. And as a bonus, as a follower of the Gay with God podcast, if you use a discount code when you go to get your ticket, A-Midge, you will get $50 off the price of your adult weekend ticket. So join me there. But we're not there yet. We're still here. And I'm so excited to have this guest with me this morning. It's really kismet how people meet online and how things develop and how connections are made. And it's just perfect. So let me introduce you to Hannah Jones. Hannah is a self-described 36-year-old gay baby. I love that term. Realization she is gay during a stay in drug rehab 3 years ago and has remained sober ever since, and describes the process as a slow awakening to always knowing. Boy, do I resonate with that. That's so cool. Hannah has been a licensed professional counselor for about 10 years now and currently works for BetterHelp.com. She is a mom to her awesome 5-year-old son, Truett, and dog mom to 2 Rhodesian Ridgebacks who think they are lap dogs. In her spare time, you're likely to find Hannah immersed in nature. Camping, backpacking, bike packing, marathon running, nature photography, kayaking, anything that gets her outdoors. Other hobbies include reading nonfiction, learning, drumming, and spending time with her girlfriend. Of all which are pursuits she wouldn't enjoy today if she hadn't embraced her authentic self. Hannah's story is an inspiration for anyone who feels held back by their religion, demonstrating to all of us that life of vibrancy and fulfillment awaits us when we start living as the people we were made to be. On the empoweredmidge.podbean.com show page, you're going to be able to see a list of her coming out songs that were helpful to her and books that have had the greatest impact on her. And so those will be on the show page after the show. So Hannah, welcome to the Gay with God podcast.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Yeah.
Never thought I would be here. I've listened to a lot of your podcasts and they've been really helpful in my growth. And so I never in a million years thought I would actually be on the podcast. So yeah, good.
Well, I am grateful that you are, and I'm grateful that you reached out, and thank you so much for listening to the podcast, and I'm glad that it's helpful. I always tell people that if anything I put out into the world helps somebody, then that's exactly my mission, my calling, my path, whatever it is you want to call it. That's who I've been created to be. So tell us your story.
Well, that's such a loaded question, or not really a question, but wow, it's funny because I need like an elevator pitch or something for it. Not like you're going to be talking about it in the elevator, but it just my story has so many twists and turns, and if you told me I'd end up here like even like 2 years ago, I would have been like, no way, this is not possible. But yeah, basically I grew up in a really small town, grew up in a very kind of conservative religious environment. Like the whole town was, it's a small town in Texas. One red light, very small. And I realized, so anyway, I had a lot of memories when I was in rehab that resurfaced. But one of the memories I had in rehab were like all these memories that I had blocked out, of me realizing, hey, I'm gay. I even had like a memory of like crying in the bathtub about to tell my parents. And I had blocked all of that out, for years. And then it all kind of came back to me and I was like, wow. But basically I did whatever. I conformed, because I was just a big tomboy from like third grade into seventh grade. I had my hair short, and I just remember how it was not approved. It was, I could feel it, I'm pretty perceptive, and I could feel that this was not okay. And so I wanted to be accepted. I wanted to be liked, and then I became very girlish, right? And and I didn't know I was gay, right? Like in high school, I didn't know I was gay. And then I went to college. I went to a Southern Baptist college. And so that's not the best environment to be yourself and discover that you're gay. But I knew like I didn't like guys. And I was just like, well, maybe I'm probably never going to get married. And anyway, I met someone in my senior year of college. And we eventually married. And so I actually remember this thought of like, oh, yay, now I know I'm not gay because I just married a guy. Yay. And I was like, why am I thinking that? Like, that's odd.
Validation. I'm a
Yeah.
hetero.
Like, what? It's not. And anyway, I was very, very good at suppressing and just becoming who everybody wanted me to be. And I mean, me and my ex-husband were very much into the church. We were young life leaders. We were very engaged. And so I just remember like, always being taught like if you sacrifice yourself for others, if you deny yourself, that's the path to happiness. That's how you're happy. And so I remember doing all this stuff, doing all this ministry. And then I, became a counselor, and I was working at like a child sexual abuse place. And like I was pouring into all these people. And I just remember feeling so empty. I was just so empty. I was so upset. I was so numb. And I wasn't connected to anybody. And I remember going, I just want connection. Like, I just want to be connected to someone. But what I didn't realize is I can't connect to someone without being myself. And so what I showed to the world was this like, very just straight, repressed, I didn't have a personality, which was really strange. Because I'd kind of been programmed, right? Act this way, do this way. And in my culture, like growing up, the messaging for women, whether it's like, covert or overt, was be quiet, stay small, be meek, smile. And then, I became a counselor, and over the years, I started slowly drinking more and more and more. And then I realized at one point, I'm an alcoholic. Like I'm drinking so much. And then what also happened is, so I have ADHD, and I got on Adderall, and I got severely addicted to Adderall, like severely addicted. It was for years. It was really horrible. And so on top of that, I was living this double life. I was doing all this ministry stuff. And then like at home, I was drinking. I was, Adderall, I was on Ambien. I was just on all these like, legal drugs. And so I was like, well, I'm not a drug addict. I'm on these prescription drugs. But anyway, it got very much out of hand. And I realized, this is about 3 years ago. I realized like, well, no, never mind. I had a child. So he's 5 years old now. I had a child. And that changed me a lot. Like I actually started like nurturing and cultivating a sense of like love for myself, because he was so much like me as a kid. And I saw like kind of that inner child stuff, and I was able to be a lot kinder to myself. And anyway, I got a lot better, like substance abuse wise, but I still had issues. And I realized I got better enough to survive life. And I realized, I was from my ex-husband was very, like, we had money, and I realized, I can get by life smiling and nodding, staying quiet, smiling and nodding. And I'm like, that was terrifying for me, because I'm like, I'm finally stable enough where no one's going to raise eyebrows, but I'm very unhappy. And so I realized, like, I need to go to rehab. I want to be a better mom. I want to, and I went because I was like, I'm the problem, my poor ex-husband, like it's all me. And so when I got to rehab, it was surprising. Like it was the first time I was actually really open about some of the things my ex had done to me. And because we'd only had like mutual friends. So back out of rehab, I couldn't open up about some of the things that were really concerning me. I was honest, and they were like, that's not okay. Like, it's not you. And they kind of helped me understand the cause and effect and how I was driven to drinking. And so I got out of, in rehab, I was like, I realized, oh my goodness, all these memories started resurfacing of me being gay, of like having crushes on girls. And I had no memory of that when I was pretending to be straight. Right.
Yeah.
And so really it was in rehab, and they asked me in rehab, they're like, what do you want? And that was just the strangest question, because I'd never been asked what I wanted as a woman. It was like, this is what your role is, this is what you do. And I remember thinking, well, that's so selfish. It doesn't matter what I want, like it matters what other people want. God, I had all these verses in my mind that I grew up with, like, deny yourself, pick up your cross, follow me. God's ways are higher than your ways. His understanding is above your understanding, and just like all these verses that kind of stop critical thinking. And so, yeah. And anyway, it was a really big moment. And so when I got out of rehab, I got into counseling. Like, I'm a counselor, but I went to counseling, and I was like, I need to figure this out, right? I need to figure this out. It was really tough, because I'm like, I just wish I could just suppress all this and go back, because knowing I'm gay is not helpful for being in a straight marriage. And so,
already been a heterosexual, can't go back.
Yeah, exactly. And so I went to counseling, and in counseling, it did not take me long at all to realize I was gay. And so I said it out loud. I'm like, I'm gay. And the counselor's like, wow, like that's a big moment. How does that feel? And I'm like, it feels really good. It feels great, And so I wanted to be honest with my then husband, that, I'm gay. But when I was honest with him, I mean, I was very much about like, I'm not leaving this marriage. Like, we're staying. And when I told him, he was very much like, thank you for telling me, we're going to try to work this out. But then over time, he got a lot more, let's just say, mean. And he was very much like, you had a responsibility for having known you were gay sooner. And I'm like, I didn't. I had, how can you be responsible for not knowing what you didn't know? And like, the culture kind of programmed me to not know. Like, everything in my life was totally against me knowing. And so I got a job at like a domestic abuse shelter as a counselor. And so I started, hearing the stories of the women and working with them. And I realized, oh my goodness, some of these dynamics that are in this relationship are in my relationship with him. And I just, anyway, I don't want to talk. He's still, my son's father, and, we have a cordial co-parenting relationship. But let's just say, I mean, he was very kind of emotionally abusive, manipulative, so basically with him, he gaslit me a lot and made me doubt myself. He made me feel small. And so once I got out of rehab, I actually quit doubting myself. I became more assertive, and he did not like that. And so that's when we had a lot of conflict and problems. And so I started realizing, if I stay with him, he's going to stunt my growth as a human. And anyway, some more things happened, and I realized there was a point where I realized it, and it all kind of came together. I'm like, if I stay in this marriage, I'm going to be an alcoholic. Like, I cannot stay sober in this environment. And so a lot of times you hear people saying, well, you have to choose for yourself or you have to choose your children. It's either or. It's kind of mutually exclusive. And so what I realized is, that's a false dichotomy. You can choose both yourself and your child. And I realized, like, if I stay in this relationship, I'm going to be an alcoholic. I'm not going to be a good mom. I have to leave. I have to separate. And it was just a moment for me. It was like the best choice for myself, the best choice for my child. And anyway, there was a lot of things involved, but we got a divorce. And that was really tough, because when we got a divorce, I came out as gay, like pretty quickly. And I kind of regret doing that, because now everyone, and this is my family, his family, they think I got a divorce only because I'm gay. And that's not the truth. And that might have been a factor, but let's just say, in that marriage, I was not valued. I was not he was stunting my growth a lot, and it was also pretty emotionally abusive. And so he instead of he came out and he told everybody we were divorced because I'm gay. And so that really made my image very bad for my family. I didn't get any support. And it just was so frustrating because I'm like, that's not like, I was willing to stay. And anyway, looking back, I don't think that would have been the best choice for me anyway. But that was a really big deal. I mean, this was a few years ago, and we decided to move to an even more conservative town, to splitting up, but like living in separate houses to raise our son, because we're close to family, and my son and the family, like, we need some help, and it's really good for him. He needs some stability during all of this. And it's a tough environment because it's where all his family is, where all my family is, and I'm rejected. I have a lot of issues right now, a lot of conflict with my family. And they just, I know it's a lot for them to process, but they have just been very judgmental from the get-go, right? Like, and so, like, I've been trying to talk to my mom about, like, hey, I really wish, like, I didn't have to live this life. I didn't have to waste like 10 years of all this pain if I just knew, if I was just open. And she's just been very, very reluctant to engage. And so, like, even growing up, I remember my mom and my grandma, we had one gay cousin, and like that was a really big deal. And I remember them gossiping about the gay cousin, right? And so I just remember feeling so horrible as a child, like, they're not going to accept me if they really knew who I was. And so I tried to talk to my mom about that, and she was just absolutely just anyway, her three things: deny, defend, deflect. That's her kind of thing anyway. But it was the best choice I ever made. I have flourished so much more since leaving the marriage. I'm helping people. So my counseling has gotten so, like, as a counselor, I've been so much of a better counselor. I would say right now, even though there's just a lot of kind of loose ends, I've never been more content in, like, my mind, body, and spirit, like, as I am now. So that's kind of the short of it. There's a lot more that kind of happened with that. But yeah, I've been sober ever since. And the serenity prayer really got to me, because it was like, accept the thing, change the things that you can, accept the things that you can't change, and then the wisdom know the difference. And so I realized I am trying to change me being gay. I'm trying to change something I cannot change. Mm-hmm. And that's where my conflict is. And so once I became myself, I mean, I can't, like, I have struggles and everything, but I am so content. I'm so happy. And so anyway, once we split up, I was like, I want to start dating. I want to kind of get into this. I mean, I'm ready, it's like I'm excited. And that was a journey, the dating apps. So I think there should be like a bumper sticker, like, I survived the dating apps, like I survived. And I met my now girlfriend, and it's great. Like, I just can't believe a relationship like this actually exists. I feel so loved, so validated, like, we help each other. It's great. So that's where I am now.
Authenticity is awesome. Authenticity is awesome.
Yeah.
So the question that I had was, do you think that if you had, because, religion is very specific, and there are certain hot button topics like gay, divorce, there are certain things that we get dinged for.
Yes, exactly.
In the religious community. If you had divorced your husband and was not gay, do you think that you would have been rallied around, or would that, even the divorce thing, have been in your conservative religion? Would that have been a problem?
That would have been a problem. Yeah. That would have been a big problem. Like, my mother-in-law was very much like her whole marriage. She was talking about, like, she would send all these marriage books, actually to me, not to her son. She would send me, like, Love and Submit, all these books about, like, being a quiet woman, submitting. And then she wanted to do Bible studies with me on it, and I'm like, I can't. This is not what I believe. I'm egalitarian. It's not complementarian. And like, and she made marriage an idol, and I don't. It's ironic, because it's like, marriage should not be an idol. When you talk about, like, idols in the Bible, that is not a good thing.
Right.
So I think, yes, I would not have been rallied around, but I think I would have gotten a lot more support. A
Yeah.
lot. Yeah.
Yeah. And explain how you identify your faith,
Oh,
equality.
well, I was talking about like in roles with men and women, they have
Oh, okay.
complementarianism. That's more about like the woman submits to the man, but they're
Yeah.
equal in a way. And then egalitarianism is like they're equal, right? They don't have like these specific roles. And
Okay.
so,
I heard that wrong, and I thought you came up with your own new faith, and I'm like, tell me more.
oh no, no.
Okay.
Which
Well,
I guess yeah.
yeah, you could.
Yeah.
It's all up to you. So I'm wondering, where did your faith land through all of this and through all,
Yeah.
do you think that you were, and I don't know how to phrase this exactly, so forgive me, but do you think that you were a Christian in the beginning and that you believed the Christian beliefs
Mm-hmm.
and then
Mm-hmm.
realized you were gay? Okay. And so if you started out with that, then
Well,
how
yeah.
did it land and how did it change maybe throughout
Um,
that you were in that religion?
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, so I actually, in my theology, I had been affirming, about 3 years prior to me realizing I was gay. Like I, did all the studies and realized like this is not really what the Bible said. Like this whole thing about this black and white, like you can't be gay, it's bad.
Yeah.
They call it the six clobber passages, and most of them are in the Old Testament, beside things like don't eat shellfish, and it's I just realized there's not enough basis for this, like you can't be gay thing. And so I had been affirming prior to that. And I would say my faith was changing even before I realized I was gay, because I got very disillusioned. I my whole family are big Trump supporters, and I just started realizing like, this is these are people who say they're Christian, but they're opposite of what Jesus is talking about, right? Like opposite, like directly opposite. Not even like, and you'd hear a lot like, well, churches, nobody is perfect in church, and we all are sinful, and so that's why you're being disappointed with people. But it wasn't just like they were a little off; they're the opposite of what Jesus is calling us to do. So I'd already been kind of jaded with that. But you asked like where my faith landed. I would say it's still not landing. It's still, and I don't want it to land. I don't want to be completely certain in anything, because I think that keeps you from critical thinking. So I would say I'm actually a lot more. Before I thought God was mad at me and hated me, and now I kind of like see, and I even kind of call God a hurt, right? Like now I see that God is that God loves me, and I've never felt more loved by God, more affirmed by God. But I don't even know, like I was actually talking to my girlfriend about this the other day, and I'm like, do I call myself, a Christian? And I don't know. I don't like that word, just has so much baggage to it. But I am a person of faith, I can't, I'm not a black and white thinker anymore. But I am a person that I don't know. I don't really know necessarily everything I believe in, but I do believe we're here for a purpose, and it's to help people and also love ourselves. And yeah, you can ask me more specific questions about that.
I love that. I would like to expand on that a little bit,
Yeah.
because I think we're all growing, and I love how you said that you don't want to be, you don't want your faith to land as in this is my bottom line. And I appreciate that so much, because I don't think there is a bottom line, because I think God is still speaking and God is still working in all of us. And so we're never going to be done. Our faith is always emerging and growing and changing and morphing into who we are and who we are being called to be. So I love that. I think that's beautiful. So your family now, you said they've pretty much disengaged with you. Do you have any contact with them that's in person, or is it mainly through calls and texts? Do they allow you to come to their home?
Yes, so they've actually, that's a whole other aspect. So they have not been like, I'm throwing you out, you can't come to my home, you're doing bad. They didn't do that. They've invited me to their house. But here's the issue is, once I started being honest with myself that I'm gay, it actually opened up so many other doors for me to be honest about other family dysfunctions and things like that. So I would say it's not even the gay thing that we're, I mean, yes, that like I get told all the time, we don't support your lifestyle. I'm like, what is my lifestyle? Like I help people. I'm, anyway, but it's more of they I became trying to talk to my parents about some things that they're doing currently, because they're not nice to me, and they've never been kind of nice to me. And so I've once I started becoming more secure in myself, I realized, well, I do have value, and I actually don't think that they should be mean to me. And so I started standing up for myself. And like, don't say that. And actually, I probably stood up for myself. The pendulum swings the other way. I was probably very defensive looking back. But I just saw everything. I saw the dysfunction. I saw the family dynamics. I saw what my mom was doing. I saw the triangulation. I saw all of that. And so it's so hard to unsee that. But it honestly, once I figured it out, it made so much sense as to why I felt the way I did about my family. So I've been trying to be honest about that with my parents, and they've been completely resistant to that. So like, I even was telling my mom, hey, that really hurt me, growing up here, and you talk about the one gay cousin, and I said, like, that's, and she's like, I'm not apologizing about that. I'm not I it just very much like they don't realize cause and effect a lot. Let's just say that. Yeah.
Well, and I think it's hard for parents to in their own faith and how had been raised and how they worship and what they believe. It's really hard for them to change their beliefs. And if they start to
Right.
toward accepting your homosexuality or your queerness, then they are, what we talk about is that they're now communing with the sinner in their mind, and they'll go to hell. And so it's hard for them to take some things back. And even when you're asking for an apology for something that well, I'm not apologizing for that, because if I'd gone along with that, then I'm part of the sin, which is
Right.
not true, but that's how they were raised to believe. And it's really hard to take the fear aspect out of religion. And that's why I do identify as Christian. I don't identify with Christian nationalism. I don't identify with bigotry. I don't identify with religious trauma aspects. So, and one of our supply priests said one time, she said, I want to get a t-shirt that says Christian on the front, and on the back it says not like that one. Because it is a hot button word right now. It's all negative. It's all about, in the name of God, we're going to, climb up the Capitol. In the name of God, we're going to save, the white race. And it's so not the Jesus movement. It's not what Jesus was here to show us. It wasn't the path ever. And it's just gotten out of control.
Yeah.
I totally understand you swinging from one side of not knowing to hear me, because we do that. We go 360 until we find authentic middle. And that's a hard place to kind of navigate,
right?
Because we are passionate and we are living authentically, and we don't want to take that back either. So it's very hard.
Yeah.
I always said that it would have been easier if my parents had disowned me, because then I could have it would have been painful, and it would have hurt really, really bad. And then I could have taken that break and moved on. But I've realized, since writing the memoir and really having to resurface all those emotions, I was so grateful that they didn't disown me, because I wouldn't have done the work I've been doing. I wouldn't have become who I am now, because I would have engaged with the pain and not dealt with it.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
So it is painful to get through all of their bigotry and all of their lack of understanding of the Bible itself. And they're not open.
Yeah, and that's the thing, they're not open. And like I told my mom, like I'm very much like, I understand that you can't go from here all the way to here.
Right.
But because I didn't, I it was a slow process. But I told her, I understand. I don't expect you to completely agree with me, but here's some books that help me. Would you like to read those books? And no. And like I've given her, like, there's a book I've read, Discovering the Inner Mother, Discovering the Inner Mother, and it was so like, it just talked so much about the dynamics that me and my mom had, and like, hey, this could help our relationship go deeper. And I think that's probably the issue, is they don't want to know me deeper. They only want a surface level relationship, and they haven't disowned me. They very much are like, can you come visit? But every time I see them, it's just very, they talk down to me. I don't, and like, the past is the past. I don't expect to get a lot of apologies for the past, but the past does inform the present. And so if they're continuing to act the way they do as they did in the past presently, then they're no longer like safe to be around emotionally. And so I think, yeah, that's been the big thing, is like my mom and my dad are just like very much like, we're not willing to entertain that at all. Yeah, but I would even, yeah, like I say, I don't think it's even the gay thing. I think it's just the dishonesty, the lack of like self-awareness on their part. And I hate using this word, I hate it, but I think my mom might be a bit of a narcissist. So it's yeah, it's a whole thing. But I think anyway, yeah.
Well, how have you had any contact with your gay cousin? Are you in contact?
Yeah, actually, yeah. And that's what my mom's mad about me about. So I actually had a great conversation with him, and he was just like, my family and I've gotten even closer because I'm more honest, and it just takes a while. And I said, I really, I appreciate that. And I said, I said, I remember feeling like when you were being talked about by our family, I just remember feeling like, why are they talking about him? It's not a big deal. And I told him that. And so it was just a really good conversation. But I mentioned to my mom, I said, me and Jim had a good conversation. I felt supportive. And I said, we had a good conversation about just me feeling like I didn't understand why you were talking about them. And she got mad, and she gave me the silent treatment for about 3 months. Yeah. And I'm like, don't you want me to have some support here?
She didn't want you to out her bigotry to the cousin.
She didn't want me to unmask her. Yes. My mom wears masks. So yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm grateful that you have a supportive cousin.
Yeah.
Is there anyone else in your family that may not be gay that has become more affirming over time?
I'm trying to remember. I don't think so. Well, so like, even my grandma, I remember when I realized I was gay and she was talking about the gay people, I go, hey, Nana, would you rather have a gay granddaughter or a dead granddaughter? And she said, oh, good thing I don't have to answer that question, right? So it's like, wouldn't you just say gay? So I'm trying to think.
That makes
like, so my sister,
for a minute, like,
yeah,
would she have answered that question?
right? Yeah,
wow,
yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So I'm just maybe my sister doesn't have a problem with the gay thing, but she's also very narcissistic. So I kind of stay away from her a little bit. She's she makes fun of me a lot, so I kind of stay. But yeah, I'm trying to think. Not really. Unfortunately, actually, I've been rejected, and like I don't go to Christmases anymore, and I've never had anyone from the family reach out to me and say, hey, we really miss you. It's just silence. Silence speaks very loudly. Oh, my aunt is she's not like affirming with the gay thing, but she's also willing to hear me out and listen to me. So I did go visit her recently, and it was a really good visit. So yes, her.
Excellent. And how is the family relationships with your girlfriend? Are you included in their family?
So her girlfriend, my girlfriend's family is anti-gay as well. So that's where we bond, as we realize we're trying to create our own family. And she's really helped me out a lot because she's been out a lot longer than me. And she's helped me kind of understand that. But I mean, she has 2 kids, and so we have our own little family. Yeah.
And how is your son at this point? Are you able to still connect with him and
yeah, it's great.
Or anything?
Say that again.
Try to take him away from you or block you from seeing him?
Yes, but not it. That's a whole other story. Not anymore. So it's, yeah, we're connecting well. And my ex very much wants my son to know me. So he's That's why, he's very much, he's not using my son at all to get back at me. So that's good.
Yeah, because that's, that's the worst thing is
Hmm.
to damage the kids in
Yeah.
despite the other parents. So I'm glad
Mhm.
that's one little check mark for your
Yeah. And my relationship with him, my son, has gotten a lot better too, just because I'm more present. That's a whole other thing. I'm more present. I'm more in the here and now. I appreciate him so much more because I'm not so focused on, all the other things. It's just our presence and everything is great.
good, good. Oh, I'm so happy to hear that.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah, I love them.
that doesn't always happen, and so I'm glad.
Mhm.
So you're still in the great ungreat state of Texas.
Yes.
So hard
Yes.
to be down further. I'm in North Carolina, and I'm as far south as I ever hope to be. Please, dear Lord Jesus, I don't want to go anywhere else south. Um, and I know there are also, other states that are not southern states that have problems and aren't dealing with things well these days. But whew, that's a tough place to be.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I would love to be in Austin. That's where my girlfriend lives. And I travel to see her, and just we can walk around Austin holding hands, like nobody looks at us. But when she comes to visit me in Nacogdoches, which is small town, where SFA is, small town in Texas, we get stared at a lot. And the thing is, she's actually going to move here in May, to be near me. And so that's going to be tough. I think I would prefer to move there
Yeah.
to Austin with her. But I can't because my son is here. So yeah, I'm gonna be there for him.
Yeah, that's such a complicated thing, and it shouldn't be, but it is, and I don't see it getting progressively
Hmm.
better anytime soon, not in big steps at all.
Yeah.
So you get support from her, and you're being supported by your own sobriety and by your own wellness.
Hmm.
You feel support. Is there any affirming church down where you are now that if you wanted to
No,
could go?
I there is one church I've heard about, and I emailed the pastor and I told him my story, and he didn't email me back, so I'm not gonna go. Yeah, it sucks. It really sucks.
Yeah. Well, and the only way to really know the I mean, yes, talking to the pastor, but I love that we can look online for churches and view some of the online streams and just hear what they're talking about, see who's serving in the church, if no women
Hmm.
are reading, if no women are speaking in the church at all, if it's
Hmm.
all male pastors, then you know
Hmm.
kind of where they stand.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. And a lot of churches will say, hey, we're affirming, and then you get down to it and they're not. So it's
Well, I just love online streaming. Our church started doing that, I guess, during the pandemic, and a lot of churches did. And so
Mhm,
now, it's very easy for us to connect. It's not like worshiping with a whole body of people that support you and can be there for you, in person, but
mhm,
it's for me, it's better than nothing. If I'm
yeah,
away, I can still, log in and get an online church service.
yeah,
And it just shouldn't be that way.
mhm,
I know we're getting more affirming churches, and there are more churches that are recognizing women as
mhm,
pastors. I grew up Advent Christian, which is similar to Baptist, and I don't think we have any women pastors yet. And I know that there's a very progressive Baptist church down in Raleigh, North Carolina. They have a gay minister and have for years, even when it wasn't politically correct. And
mhm,
she forged herself ahead and
mhm,
was really battling, but they
yeah.
still have that church, and it's amazing.
Yeah. Well, and I would kind of say, like, I would call myself a Jesus follower. I reject the name Christian somewhat just because of the baggage, but when you look at Jesus, his life, he didn't say anything about being gay, like no negative things about that. But he helped people, and he was looked down on by the Pharisees and Sadducees, and he he's very much into helping women, helping children, helping the least of these. And also was kind of a rebel. And so I'm like, maybe I could fit in with that. Because I really do believe if Jesus came back today and kind of started to be part of the churches, he would be rejected. I really think so. And so that's why I like to call myself a Jesus follower. And
Absolutely. Absolutely. Somebody asked me one time why in the world would I ever go back to religion? And I said, well, I said, I don't like religion. I don't
Mm,
like dogma. I said, I love having a relationship with Jesus and worshiping with people who are progressive and who get
mhm.
it. I said, and however, I said, even if I said, not everybody in my Episcopal church, which I love very much, but not everybody is really keen, I don't think, on the gay thing. They're quiet.
Yeah,
They
they're quiet.
quiet. But
Yeah.
but there again, I said, if I was not there, if I did not speak up and speak out and be as gay as I possibly can in church, they would not have that to put together. They wouldn't be able to put together, oh, here's Midge and we like her, and ooh, she's gay. And
Mhm.
I did have a lady
Mhm.
the other day say to me, she's older, quite older, and she said, I just don't know why you keep shoving it down people's faces. We love you. You're here. We accept you. Why keep bringing it up?
Oh my gosh.
And I took a breath
Ooh.
and I said, because honey, it's not over. If we quit speaking about it,
Yes.
have equal rights now. We are
Yes.
being killed for holding hands in public and for naming the fact that we may be trans. I said,
Yes.
it is not over. And until it's over, which is going to take a minute, I'm going to continue to bring it up and talk about it and
Yeah. That's, oh
that
my goodness.
I
Yes,
can
I
live
hate
my
that.
life. And so that was sort of like the thing on the top of it to say to me, this is my mission field. Even though the Episcopal Church is open, affirming, and as far as the diocese, they are open and affirming. You still have individual people who are old and they weren't raised with that, and they don't
Mhm.
get it, and they don't
Mhm.
dig deeper into the scriptures. They like the sermons, but they're not digging deeper into the scriptures. So
Mhm.
I see it as my little, I really believe that it's my cross to bear is to be as openly gay in a church setting as I possibly can.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
allow
The
it to,
representation.
yes, yes,
Mhm.
because when we're invisible,
Yes.
we're done.
Yep, I
Almost
agree.
done
Yeah.
now, but we have to be visible and be visible with love because that's what
Mhm.
Jesus would do. And me speaking up and out is sort of like kicking a table over in the synagogue. You know, I'm not
Yeah.
always, I
Right.
can be very forceful and I can be very blunt, but
Uh-huh.
I'm starting to soften the edges a little so that
Uh-huh.
people can accept what I'm having to say and that
Yeah.
they're open. But I think
Yeah.
that's what our job is in the world. If we're gay, we have to have our voice heard. We have,
Yes, absolutely. Because I didn't have any gay representation as a kid. I didn't have anyone to look to.
that's right. And that's why healthy gay people, not just the Pride Parade,
Yeah.
that scared the
Yeah.
crap out of me when I first saw the
Right.
Pride Parade. I was like, oh
Yeah.
my God, what are
Yeah.
they doing? And why are they not wearing clothes? It was just, it scared me as a kid because I wasn't around any of that. So,
Uh-huh.
but then when I went to my first Metropolitan Community Church at the advice of a therapist, and I thought she was
Uh-huh.
nuts. But I was introduced to women lawyers and women teachers
Uh-huh.
and
Awesome.
powerful
Yeah.
looking women. I hate to say it that way, but they were, for me, they looked like
Right.
anybody else I would have known.
Yeah. Yeah.
And by
Gotcha.
the way, they were gay. So
Uh-huh. That's part of my thing I want to do. I'm open on Facebook and I share pictures and I'm like, hey, I'm the new PR for gay people.
that's right.
So,
Right. And
yeah.
that's very healthy, I think, for us to be able to be out and proud and working our daily lives. I mean, they
Hmm.
don't, it's like we are just like everybody else. We pay bills, we have fights with our partner or our spouse,
Hmm.
you know, and yet we still love each other and it's okay.
Yeah.
So
Right. Yeah. Normalize it.
normalize it. Yes. And that's going to take a minute,
Mhm.
but we shall
Yeah.
keep
Right.
fighting for our
Yeah.
right. So, with everything that you've been through and are still going through, and your cousin is absolutely right, time is what it takes. It
Hmm.
takes time to soften people's hearts. It takes personal experiences with someone. And as you continue to navigate through your authentic self, I really pray. I do. I pray seriously that your family can have their little souls and their hearts crack open just a little bit to let some of that light that you're
Hmm.
willing to share with them in. And there are some that never get it and
Hmm.
we'll never know. But I'm so proud of you for being sober, I'm so proud of you for continuing to speak your truth and hold standards for yourself
Hmm.
and boundaries for yourself. I'm just super proud.
Yeah. Well,
You know?
thank you. Yeah. Yeah. And I that's what, it's not just me being gay, it's everything's changed for me. I used to be so quiet and so scared to even talk, and just so meek, I wouldn't even raise my hand in class. And now, like, I stand up for myself. Now I'm on a podcast that I never thought, would ever do. And so it's I love experiencing this side of myself. It's like, every day I'm like, wow, who is this woman? I don't know, but I like her. And so it's just
That's right.
it's
I
great. Yeah.
I remember our first conversation, and I left our first conversation with, well, I said it'll probably be years and years and years and years if she ever makes it to the podcast. But I remember us talking about that and
Hmm.
how
Hmm.
I prayed for you that day too. I prayed for you that day because I thought, man, she has got a very ugly, hard road that she's
Hmm.
about to, and so to see you here as quickly as I did, I am, it's a miracle. And I just love,
Yeah. I've grown so much. It's like I'm on super speed grow. It's like it's almost like when you are open to experience to these things, the universe just opens up and it's like on speed. All the things
like,
you're
gee,
learning and
I was
growing.
ready. I was ready. I was just waiting for you. Turn around. I was waiting for you. Yeah,
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. So
you.
that's neat.
Hey, you. So, as we wind down this podcast, is there something on your heart that you had wanted to make sure you said, and we might not have gotten to it yet, or something that's really important for you
Let's
to tell
see.
the world?
See. Well, I think, I wrote down here that I felt like before I was lying with my life, like I knew I was gay and I was still living a straight marriage, and it just felt so horrible. Like it did not feel like a good godly thing to do, right? To lie with your life. And so I just realized I was in this predicament where either, if you're trying to be a Christian, the way that conservatives are, then if you're gay, then A, you're either lying with your life by being straight, or B, sinning because you're gay. And so it's like there's no winning in that situation. So it's like a double bind. But let's see. That's the main thing I was gonna say. And when I quit lying with my life, I'm noticing all these verses coming true for me. Like I feel like a new creation. I feel like the chains are gone. Like I don't have the shame. I feel like the fruits of the spirit, those are coming up a lot faster for me. I'm having those, and it's just like I said, it's on acceleration mode. Yeah, it's just really neat. Yeah, yeah, just being honest with myself has made me be honest with other aspects of things. Yeah, and I think that's tough because you start to see, you really start to notice and see, and I think that could be really tough because if no one else is noticing and seeing it, it just makes you feel alone.
Well, I really appreciate you coming to the podcast, Hannah, and telling your story. It's very
Hmm.
inspirational, and it's very awesome that you've come so far. And I know that you'll still grow and you'll still settle in to who you are and who you're meant to be.
Hmm.
But I really appreciate you taking the time to share your story.
Yeah. Yeah, I
It,
hope it can help other people because other people's stories on your podcast have helped me. So it's makes you feel less alone when you hear other people.
you are
Yeah.
definitely, and stay in touch because, we definitely want to stay in touch. That's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I
So,
think
guys, I
so.
want you to remember that we also, we're not just here on the podcast. If you want to connect and grow deeper in your faith journey, you can go to Facebook and join the Gay with God Facebook group. And if you need support with your coming out and or your faith journey, go to the empoweredmidge.podbean.com, scroll all the way down to the bottom and see how to connect with me. Remember to get that code for the Wild Goose Festival. That's going to be on the show page also. And I'm just so proud of you guys for continuing to support this ministry for me and to continue to say, what you're thinking and feeling about the episodes and where it landed for you. So thank you for doing those comments. I appreciate it. If you are listening to this podcast and are questioning whether you can be gay and be in a relationship with the God of your understanding, if you identify as LGBTQIA+, or not even sure if you're gay, God has always been within you, even when you didn't know it. You have always been gay with God. Thank you, everybody. Stay tuned to see how you can join the Gay with God community. And as always, you are loved.
I want to invite you to become a part of the Gay with God community. How can you do that? Stay connected by messaging me your thoughts and comments in the comment section under the downloads of the show on the Gay with God show page. Subscribe to this podcast wherever you listen and share so we can increase our community outreach and be a light to those who are struggling to claim their faith. Consider being a sponsor so I can highlight your service in our community. We are all worthy of respect and a relationship with the God of our understanding. I want to thank you in advance for supporting this podcast. Together, we as a community will keep this show visible and our community stronger. Deep gratitude to my friend Tim McClendon of Tim McClendon Music for allowing me to use an excerpt from Interlude 4, a song found on his CD entitled Sundance.